Over the hills and far away, Teletubbies come to play.
1, 2, 3, 4. Teletubbies!
In the last episode of the Teletubbies Retrospective, we looked at Here Come the Teletubbies, and how it showcases most of what the Teletubbies experience on a daily basis. There is one more thing the Teletubbies do that Here Come the Teletubbies didn't show, and that is dancing. The Teletubbies dance anywhere and everywhere. In the house, on the house, in front of the house, and out in Teletubbyland. That is why, in today's episode, we're going to look at the Teletubbies' second home media release, Dance with the Teletubbies. More specifically, we're going to go over some general information surrounding the release. Then, we'll summarise the segments. Following this, the release will be analysed and considerations will be made regarding what the characters did in Dance with the Teletubbies. We will then conclude, as we did in the last episode, with my final thoughts on Dance with the Teletubbies. With that in mind, let's begin! As in the last episode, this section of the retrospective will consider some general information surrounding the release, alongside some trivia. According to the Teletubbies community wiki, which is once again linked in the description, Dance with the Teletubbies was released on the 8th of September 1997. This is the same release date as Here Come the Teletubbies, which initially made me think I'd noted down the information for this release instead of the information for Here Come the Teletubbies when I'd written the script for the previous episode. It made for a very stressful couple of moments. The dances, which we'll look at in just a moment, outnumber the Teletubbyland sketches and TV events, which come from the following episodes. My Mum's Keyboard, Lorette Tap Dancing, Numbers 1 Version 1, Feeding the Chickens, Playing in the Rain, Emily and the Trap, Photo Faces, and Jumping. This release contains 2 TV events. The one from Lorette Tap Dancing, which we mentioned a moment ago, and an exclusive TV event containing a group of children dancing. Dance with the Teletubbies, unsurprisingly, contains rather a lot of dances. These include the Stamping and Stepping dance, the Walking dance, the Running Away dance, the Follow the Leader dance, the Round and Round dance, the Splashing dance, the Falling Down dance, the Tiptoe dance, and finally, the Jumping dance. The Follow the Leader dance is unique here as it debuted in Dance with the Teletubbies. This dance would not appear in an episode until 1998's Carnival 2. This release also contains the appropriately named Dancing Bear. This is the release's sole magical event, and here the Dancing Bear dances twice for the Teletubbies. All the episodes used in Dance with the Teletubbies aired in 1997. As we saw when we analysed Here Come the Teletubbies, Every episode of Teletubbies contains a missing Teletubby at the beginning and a boo shouter at the end. The home media releases follow suit in this, and for Dance with the Teletubbies, our missing Teletubby is Tinky Winky and our boo shouter is Po. Starting from this episode of the retrospective, we're going to count how many times each Teletubby has been missing in the intro and has shouted boo at the end. At this stage in the series, both Po and Tinky Winky have been the missing Teletubby once, and Po has shouted boo twice. Dipsy and Laa-Laa are yet to do either. Before moving on to the summary of Dance with the Teletubbies, I want to go over who got the TV events. These TV events are played by Tinky Winky and Dipsy, respectively. From now on, we're going to count the TV events in a similar way to what we just did with the opening and closing sequences. And at this time, Po has had one TV event, which was playing in the rain from Here Come the Teletubbies. Dipsy has had one TV event, which is the exclusive TV event in this release. And Tinky Winky has had two TV events across the two releases we've looked at so far. The beach from Here Come the Teletubbies, and Lorette tap dancing from Dance with the Teletubbies. Laa-Laa is yet to play a TV event in a home media release. Dance with the Teletubbies begins with the Teletubbies doing a stamping and stepping dance along the path near the windmill. They stamp and step along the path in one direction, and then again in the other. The Teletubbies enjoy this so much they decide to do it again in a different part of Teletubbyland. They walk down the hill, eh-ohing all the while, and then walk back up. Before they can walk any further up the hill, however, the magic windmill begins to spin, and the Teletubbies have to quickly make their way to the hill where they will watch the release's first TV event. After watching a small girl named Lorette tap dance, the Teletubbies do their own special walking dance. Dipsy leads this procession, and after being beckoned by Po, Laa-Laa joins in on the fun. As the dance ends, Laa-Laa walks a different way to the other Teletubbies, and poses on the hill where the dance begun. They are then applauded by the flowers. Po soon reappears wearing the skirt, as it is her turn to do so. In front of the house, Po dances in a jaunty way. It isn't long, however, before it is Tinky Winky's turn to wear the skirt. Tinky Winky, far less imaginatively, twirls round and round in the same spot as Po. Laa-Laa spots Tinky Winky and rushes over. Much to Tinky Winky's chagrin, it is now Laa-Laa's turn to wear the skirt, and no amount of falling over will change that. Laa-Laa then proceeds to dance like no dancer has danced before. Somebody is watching, however, and that somebody is Dipsy. Once Laa-Laa finishes dancing, it is Dipsy's turn to... Sorry, what was it?
Oh, it is Dipsy turning very pert!
Thank you. Dipsy, however, does not want to weary pert, and runs away. Laa-Laa, understanding that Dipsy must wear the skirt, it being his turn after all, gives chase. Dipsy runs all the way back to the house, though his efforts were for naught, as Laa-Laa catches up with him, and he emerges wearing the skirt. Dipsy resigns to dancing with the skirt, though he dances in such a way that the skirt falls down. This of course thrills Dipsy, and he runs away quickly before anyone can tell him to put the skirt back on. Dipsy then runs back to the other Teletubbies in time to do a running away dance. After Po shows the other Teletubbies how it's done, Tinky Winky, Dipsy and Laa-Laa soon pick up the moves and are all running away and towards one another. Once they've finished the dance, the Teletubbies walk in and out of some trees in a rather jaunty way. Just as they say, "Eh-oh" to the audience, the magic windmill signals that it is time to watch a magical event. The Teletubbies run off quickly, and are soon seated ready for Winnie the Pooh! It's not Winnie the Pooh, I really don't know where you got that idea. Oh, sorry. The Teletubbies are soon seated ready for the dancing bear. This aforementioned bear does a short tap routine for the Teletubbies. As he readies himself to fly back to the 100-acre wood, the Teletubbies demand an encore. Being a kind sort of bear, the dancing bear obliges and performs for them the exact same routine. This time, however, there is no chance of an encore, as he really has to leave. The Teletubbies then return to the Tubbytronic Superdome, and are rather bored. Nunu decides to lift their spirits, and leads them in a follow the leader dance around the dome. The Teletubbies and the Nunu dance past the Tubby Custard Machine, around the Tubby Toaster, and finally in and out of the beds. This is before Nunu leads them back to where the dance began, leaving the Teletubbies in the exact same predicament as they had been in just a few minutes ago. The Teletubbies quickly decide not to be bored anymore, and are soon outside doing a round and round dance. As the name suggests, they dance round and round one another, and then round and round separately. It's a rather circular dance, though the talking flowers do seem to enjoy it just as much, if not more, than the walking dance from earlier. Not much later, the Teletubbies are hiding behind some hills. After they've all popped up, a cloud floats by and leaves a puddle behind. The Teletubbies decide to dance in this puddle, and do a splashing dance. They first jump in one by one, then they all jump in together and splash about. After drying off, the Teletubbies run inside and a voice trumpet tells them to trit and to trot. The Teletubbies find this hilarious and are soon tritting and trotting to the rhythm. The Teletubbies are then back near the windmill and doing a falling down dance. They dance in a circle, fall down, and repeat this 2 more times. It's a wonder none of them rolled down the slope. Soon after, Tinky Winky, Dipsy and Laa-Laa are charging over the hills towards the audience. But where's Po? Ah! There's Po! The Teletubbies then do a special tiptoe dance, where they tip their toes to the tune of the music. Afterwards, the Teletubbies all have a go at jumping. Dipsy jumps for joy after seeing a beautiful flower. Laa-Laa jumps so she can catch her ball. Po jumps so she can get on her scooter. And Tinky Winky? He jumps for fun, with the musical accompaniment of a voice trumpet. All the jumping makes Tinky Winky very tired. But he doesn't get to rest for very long, as it is now time for the final TV event of the release. After watching some children do rather a lot of dancing, the Teletubbies do one final dance, the jumping dance. Unfortunately, Tinky Winky is still a bit off kilter after all the jumping he did earlier, and falls over. He manages to regain his balance in time for the key change, though it doesn't take long for him to lose it again. This time he rolls all the way down to the bottom of the hill, much to Dipsy, Lala and Po's amusement. After all that dancing, falling over, and more dancing and falling over, it is time for Tubby Bye Bye, and therefore the end of Dance with the Teletubbies. After a great deal of very careful deliberation, I think the theme of Dance with the Teletubbies is dancing. Shocking, I know. I think Dance with the Teletubbies meets this theme in an incredibly effective way. And here's why. First of all, every segment in Dance with the Teletubbies either contains dancing in some shape or form, or is used as a segue into a dance. For example, the Teletubbies walk up and down the hill before the first TV event, and then afterwards they do the walking dance. Another example is the Teletubbies playing Follow the Leader between the trees, and afterwards doing the Follow the Leader dance with Nunu. Additionally, and perhaps more explicitly than these latter two examples, a cloud appears in Teletubbyland, leaves a puddle behind, and the Teletubbies then do the splashing dance. This latter example is one that Teletubbies the series is quite fond of pursuing, as seen in 1997's Colours Blue, 1998's Ned's Geraniums, and 1999's Pavement Artist, to name but three. Speaking of the segues in this release, I would like to pause for a moment and show my appreciation for the pacing in Dance with the Teletubbies. Everything flows incredibly well in the gaps between the TV events and the magical event. This is especially evident in the space between the dancing bear and the final TV event. While there are some opening shots sprinkled in, such as before Trit Trot and Jumping for Fun, the flow between the dances and the segments that segue into the dances themselves is simply gorgeous. And from what I know of the home media releases at this stage, this isn't something typical of the releases overall. Of course, all of the home media releases edit around the windmill to an extent. For example, Po's Falling Down Day from Here Come the Teletubbies ends with the windmill spinning for a magical event in the original episode, but jumps immediately into Who Spilled the Tubby Custard in the home media release. However, none of them have such a stretch of segments in Teletubbyland without the windmill spinning in the same way as Dance with the Teletubbies. In fact, if we count the dances as their own segments, Dance with the Teletubbies easily has the most segments between TV or magical events. Speaking of the TV events, and I apologise for the repeated segues, I think the two that are used in Dance with the Teletubbies complement the release exceptionally well. To recap, the first TV event features a young girl named Lorette showcasing her tap dancing skills to the Teletubbies, and the second features a large group of children dancing to an incredibly jaunty tune. In a release called Dance with the Teletubbies, these two TV events are intertwined with the encompassing theme of the release. Before comparing the US version of Dance with the Teletubbies with that of the UK, I want to briefly talk about the way the release uses the narrator, Tim Whitnell. I did not mention him in the first episode of this series as I did not feel there was much to say about him, as every segment in Here Come the Teletubbies, outside of those kicked off by the windmill, are narrated. In contrast, only 2 segments from Dance with the Teletubbies feature narration: Dancing with the Skirt and Jumping for Fun. Outside of this though, the narrator announces the name of each dance, with the notable exception of the Follow the Leader dance.
Stamping and stepping dance. Walking dance. Running away dance. Round and round dance. Splashing dance. Falling down dance. Tiptoe dance. Jumping dance.
I think this is a brilliant use of the narrator. For one, when a dance appears in your ordinary run-of-the-mill episode of the Teletubbies, it typically occurs after a TV event like in, say, Our Pig Winnie, or after the magical event like in, say, Seesaw, and isn't signposted to the audience, and will more often than not appear without an opening shot. Moreover, by announcing the names of each dance as they occur, the audience will hopefully see them in the episodes and think, "Oh, that's the iconic stamping and stepping dance, as I saw in my VHS tape or DVD of Dance with the Teletubbies!" Yay! Now that the role of the narrator in the UK version of Dance with the Teletubbies has been considered, we can look at the US release in more detail. Just like the UK release, the narrator announces each dance as they occur. However, unlike the UK release, Rolf Saxon, the US narrator, announces the name of the Follow the Leader dance.
Follow the leader dance.
Otherwise, outside of the odd giggle within some of the dances and the TV event music playing before the final TV event when it was absent in the UK version, this release is identical to the UK version of Dance with the Teletubbies. No new segments have been added, and no pre-existing segments have been omitted. Therefore, I have nothing else to add in this section, so we can move on to looking at the characters. As was the case for the episode on Here Come the Teletubbies, this final section of the episode's main body will focus on the characters. More specifically, we'll look at if the Teletubbies lead segments on their own, if the segments are led by the Teletubbies as a group, and how the voice trumpets, Nunu, and the talking flowers are used in the release. In the last episode, we saw how each Teletubby led their own segment in one way or another. In Dance with the Teletubbies, however, none of the segments have a clear lead Teletubby. They all feature every Teletubby in one way or another. Although, this isn't to say they don't have their own individual standout moments. Let's start with Tinky Winky. He has, in my opinion, 3 standout moments in Dance with the Teletubbies. First, he does a very special twirl with the skirt. Then, he jumps for fun in the entire latter half of the Jumping for Fun segment. Finally, he ends the release by falling down the hill at the end of the jumping dance. I would argue that this is all very in line with what Tinky Winky is as a character. According to the Teletubbies community wiki, Tinky Winky is very energetic, albeit clumsy. Tinky Winky's energetic side comes across especially in the Jumping for Fun segment, when he is jumping all over Teletubbyland. In fact, the guy only stops when he's too tired to continue. He'd have probably kept going if he could. Tinky Winky's clumsiness is especially prominent in Dance with the Teletubbies. Firstly, he inexplicably falls over before handing Laa-Laa the skirt, and, perhaps more famously, he falls over twice during the jumping dance. The first time he manages to save it and carries on dancing, but the second time he rolls all the way down the hill. Naturally, Dipsy, Laa-Laa and Po find this very funny. Moving on to Dipsy, his standout moment is in Dancing with the Skirt, when he makes it quite clear that he does not want to wear the skirt, even though it is his turn. Drawing from the community wiki once again, Dipsy has a stubborn streak, and a tendency to refuse to participate in the main activity with the other Teletubbies. This comes across especially in Dance with the Teletubbies, as we've seen in the summary of the Dancing in the Skirt segment and in the short description I gave but a moment ago. At even the prospect of wearing the skirt, Dipsy runs away, and it isn't until Laa-Laa corners him in the dome that he wears the skirt, and even then he dances in such a way that it falls right off. Comparing this to Po, Tinky Winky and Laa-Laa all getting deeply involved in dancing with the skirt, this example from Dance with the Teletubbies helps illustrate to the audience how Dipsy can be a rather stubborn Teletubby. Let's look at Laa-Laa. Out of the 4 dances with the skirt, Laa-Laa puts the highest amount of passion into hers. This isn't surprising, however, because the actress who played Laa-Laa, Nikki Smedley, had prior experience in ballet. Drawing from the community wiki for a third time, Laa-Laa is described as a very bubbly Teletubby. She also loves to dance. Outside of this clearly coming across in her dance with the skirt, I mean just look at her go, throughout the other dances, Laa-Laa is very clearly trying to ensure that the other Teletubbies are following the choreography. For example, in the Stamping and Stepping dance, she reminds Dipsy and Po that the dance is about to end, and in the Round and Round dance, she gently leads Po back to the group. Most notably though, in the Splashing dance, Laa-Laa ensures that everyone is lined up properly before beginning the dance, as well as after everyone splashes about. Before moving on to Po, I would also like to point out that Laa-Laa is clearly getting the most into the Trick Shot game. All of this helps illustrate to the audience that Laa-Laa is a very bubbly character, and that she just loves to dance. The last Teletubby we're going to look at individually is, quite naturally, Po. Po has 2 main standout moments. First, she invents the running away dance. Po initially models the dance to the other Teletubbies, and then they all do the dance together. Her other standout moment is in the jumping dance. Essentially, at one point in the dance, Po begins to do her own thing and walks and jumps in a different direction than the other Teletubbies, much to Laa-Laa's bewilderment. Drawing on the community wiki yet again, Po is described as having a rather silly personality. She is also said to enjoy playing games with the other Teletubbies. Her silliness is evidenced in the jumping dance when she chooses to do her own thing. Her enjoyment of games is evidenced as well by her invention of the running away dance. Outside of perhaps the follow the leader dance, which we'll look at more when we discuss Nunu, this is the only dance that is arguably created by a Teletubby. Before we look at the voice trumpets, Nunu and the talking flowers, I want to spend some time considering the Teletubbies as a group. Every segment in Dance with the Teletubbies involves every Teletubby in one way or another, and there are a lot of smaller interactions between the Teletubbies that I'd like to talk about. First, Laa-Laa doesn't join in with the walking dance until Po beckons her to join the others. Then, Laa-Laa is the first Teletubby to participate in the running away dance after Po shows them how to do it. A little later in the Round and Round dance, Tinky Winky excitedly says Dipsy when he dances around Dipsy. And Po says eh-oh to Laa-Laa when Laa-Laa does the same. Also in the Round and Round dance, when Tinky Winky spins enthusiastically, Dipsy seems impressed. Not much later, in the splashing dance, Dipsy excitedly says eh-oh to Laa-Laa when he sees her before the dance begins. Laa-Laa excitedly returns the greeting. Finally, in the jumping dance when Tinky Winky falls over the first time, everyone rushes to help him stand up. These smaller interactions between the Teletubbies in the dances arguably help emphasise to the audience that the Teletubbies love each other very much. We've spoken enough about the Teletubbies themselves now, so let's look at the voice trumpets. I spoke about the purpose of the voice trumpets within Teletubbies in the previous episode of the retrospective, but to summarise, they can act as an alternative leader to the segment's main activity. Here is how a voice trumpet is used in the release's first voice trumpet segment, Trit Trot. Here, a voice trumpet says a jaunty little rhyme, trit, trot, or trot, 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 if you're American and scared of funny little rhymes. Another voice trumpet appears in Jumping for Fun, and showcases a new and exciting use of the voice trumpets, playing music for the Teletubbies. This isn't anything new for the series, as in the 4th episode of the show, Naughty Sock, a voice trumpet plays Rockabye Baby for Dipsy, and later on does the same for Tinky Winky, Laa-Laa and Po. We'll see some more examples of the voice trumpets playing music for the Teletubbies in Happy Christmas from the Teletubbies and Again Again, when we look at those releases in the hopefully near future. In my opinion, the voice trumpets were used well within the context of Dance with the Teletubbies, as both of their appearances involve the Teletubbies doing a little dance, be it all the Teletubbies tritting and trotting together, or Tinky Winky doing a special Jumping for Fun dance all over Teletubbyland. We're now going to talk about Nunu. Nunu only appears in one segment within Dance with the Teletubbies, and it is coincidentally the only dance in the release that takes place within the house, the Follow the Leader dance. Here, Nunu leads the Teletubbies in a dance around the dome before leading them back to where the dance began. The Follow the Leader dance is the only dance that features Nunu, and until 1998's Painting Easter Eggs debuted the Up and Down dance, it was the only dance to be performed inside the Tubbytronic Superdome. I think Nunu's appearance in Dance with the Teletubbies was an effective use of him as a character. Firstly, it is in line with the release's theme. He's dancing with the Teletubbies. Secondly, it showcases a new side of Nunu as a character. Essentially, in Here Come the Teletubbies, we saw the basic overview of Nunu, how he tidies up and reacts from the sidelines to reassure the parents watching with their children that he doesn't know what's happening either. Dance with the Teletubbies takes this further and showcases Nunu as the 5th member of the group. Nunu has joined in the fun before. For example, in Lorette Tap Dancing, we can see him going around the dome with Tinky Winky, and in The Beach, he stops to listen to the ocean ambience with the Teletubbies. Perhaps more notably, and we'll look at this segment more when we look at Nursery Rhymes in the next episode, he does the special Hey Diddle dance with the Teletubbies in Hey Diddle Diddle. While this likely wasn't the intention, I really quite like how Dance with the Teletubbies showcases this more playful side of the Nunu, which we'll see more of in subsequent episodes of the retrospective. To conclude this rather lengthy section of the retrospective, let's talk about the talking flowers. As I said in the previous episode, the talking flowers very rarely have anything nice to say about the Teletubbies. The talking flowers speak 4 times in Dance with the Teletubbies, and interestingly, they consistently have something nice to say about the Teletubbies. The first 2 times they speak are after the walking dance and the round and round dance. After both of these dances, the flowers comment on how wonderful the dancing was. They have similar things to say to Tinky Winky in Jumping for Fun, when they express interest on his jumping and comment on his gracefulness. I quite like the way the flowers are used here, as I think they offer opportunities for active viewing. In short, this is the idea of actively engaging in the content viewed on television. In the case of Dance with the Teletubbies and the talking flowers' comments on the quality of the dancing, co-viewing could lead to a discussion about the video that the child has been watching with their responsible adult. And questions can be asked of the viewing child, such as, "The flowers seem to like the dancing. What do you think of the dancing?" which could then be followed through with open-ended questions. Discussions like this when viewing television with small children can have incredible effects on their cognitive development. As we did in the last episode of the Teletubbies retrospective, before we move on to my final thoughts, here is a compilation of everything said by the talking flowers in Dance with the Teletubbies.
Well done! Bravo! Bravo! That's terribly good. Well done! How clever! That's lovely dancing, lovely! Bravo! Bravo! That's terribly good. Look! Oh, it's very graceful. Bravo! Well done! Very good.
Well, would you look at that? It's taken us however long this video is, but we have successfully discussed Dance with the Teletubbies in great detail. We've looked at it in the context of what it aimed to do and how it was achieved, and we looked at what the Teletubbies themselves got up to, as well as how the release used the voice trumpets, the Nunu, and the talking flowers. As we saw in our overall analysis of Dance with the Teletubbies, the overall theme was dancing, and the aim was to show how much the Teletubbies love to dance. Dance with the Teletubbies arguably does both of these brilliantly. As I said in the analysis section, every segment either contains some form of dancing, or is a segue into some form of dancing, with the most notable example of this being the cloud acting as the segue into the splashing dance. Just as I did in the episode on Here Come the Teletubbies, I am now going to say what I think was the best segment in the release. However, this time I am also going to say what I thought was the best dance. In my opinion, the best segment in Dance with the Teletubbies was Trit Trot. Even though it's arguably more centred around the rhyme than the Teletubbies' Merry Little Jig, I think it helps demonstrate how much the Teletubbies dance simply for the sake of dancing. The best dance in Dance with the Teletubbies, in my opinion, is the Follow the Leader dance. There are a few reasons for this. Firstly, it is the only dance to contain Nunu. Secondly, the instrumental to this dance has always been a huge draw for me, even as a child. Finally, the sheer joy the Teletubbies exude when they're dancing with the Nunu just makes me smile. I just think it's neat. Once again, if you have a different favourite segment and dance to me, I'd love to hear what that is in the comment section below. This episode marks the last episode of the retrospective centred around the 1997 releases, as the next few home media releases came out in 1998. We'll be covering those in due course, starting with Nursery Rhymes. Speaking of Nursery Rhymes... Oh, what's that?
Time for Tubby bye-bye. Time for Tubby bye-bye. Time for Tubby bye-bye.
It appears that we really have run out of time. Not gonna lie, I thought based on this episode being lengthier than its predecessor, the windmill would have told me to wrap things up a lot sooner than it did. Ah well, it is what it is. Anyway, I would like to thank you all for watching this episode of the Teletubbies Retrospective, and I sincerely hope you've enjoyed watching this episode and the one before it as much as I've enjoyed making them. However, the sun is setting in the sky, so Teletubbies, say goodbye.
Bye-bye.